Okay, I think we're live right now. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to our live ELT webinars brought to you by the American TEFL Academy in collaboration with Global Bus Foundation. We bring to you distinguished guest speakers to share with you indispensable knowledge and expertise every single Friday at 7:30, so stay tuned. My name is Sofiq bin Khadda. I am a teacher trainee at ENS Rabat, and I'm also a member of Global Bus Foundation. I am thrilled, honored, and highly privileged to be moderating this session today, especially that I belong to a large community of prospective teachers out there who are willing to prepare themselves psychologically and lift the mist off of teacher training centers. Let's spread word, everybody. Today we will be joined by CRMEF graduates of the 2020 mandate. They will be giving us sort of preview about the examination process as well as the training and how it looks like in the teacher training centers. So just a few housekeeping notes. If you have any questions, if you have any comment or anything else you want to say at all, just make sure you drop them in the comment section below and we will be back to them and answer them as quick as possible. So without further ado, let us all give a warm welcome to our guest speakers today. First of all, we have Umayma Gigi. After obtaining her baccalaureate degree in physics, she joined Mohammed V University in Rabat in 2017. In 2020, she got her BA from the English department, where she majored in cultural studies. Then she joined the CRMEF in December of 2020. She currently works as a teacher of English in the public sector and study. Welcome, Umayma. Thank you for accepting the invitation. And how are you doing today?
Yeah. I'm good. What about you?
Great. Thank you so much. Happy to have you here.
Yeah, happy to. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Hamza Alushwani. He graduated from Sultan Moulay Slimane University in Bni Mellal. He graduated in 2017, I guess, right, Hamza?
No, 19, in fact.
19, sorry. And he got his BA in English Literary and Cultural Studies. And then in 2020, he managed to pass the teaching entrance exam and became a public high school teacher in Untitled Chapter. Hamza is interested in continuous professional development as he has participated in various ALT webinars similar to this one, which were provided by well-known institutions like Oxford, Cambridge, and American TEFL Academy. What a great bio, Hamza. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Mr. Tofek. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you, Global Bus Foundation, the American TEFL Academy. Thank you to the guest speakers, and thank you for the audience. And I'm very happy to share my expertise with the audience today.
Thank you too. Delighted to have you here. And last but certainly not least, our own Shayma Hamino, a fellow member of GBF and an English teacher in the public sector. She holds a BA in English Studies and a vocational BA in Multilingual and Interdisciplinary Translation. She also studied TESOL with ASU, Arizona State University. Nice to have you with us, Shayma. You're such an inspiration. How's everything?
It's doing great. Everything is great. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm glad to share with you the experience that I went through, and I'm really glad to have you here, Piers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So without further ado, we have a lot to talk about, guys. We want to go to the beginning of the story. Tell me all about how it began. How did you find teaching, and what did you find intriguing about it that made you choose it as a professional career? Feel free to jump in if you have an answer.
shall I?
Yes, of course, Omema.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So what made me choose teaching as a profession is that I liked my teachers of English actually back in high school. And I found that always when I'm like in an English session, I'm always happy because there are lots of games, activities, and so on. Even though I was I was a student of physics, so even though that I preferred English sessions because there were a lot of activities. And actually I had two great teachers. We have Miss Iqbal Alij. If she's watching here, she will know me, and also Mr. Adil. And actually they inspired me a lot. So I learned that teaching affects people's life, and I wanted to be that person to make an effect in other people's life. That's why I chose actually to teach. Yes.
Thank you so much, Umayma, such good words. Hamza, Shayma, do you want to step in and take the question?
Okay, so my story is a bit similar to Umaima's. Back to when I was in the 9th grade, I was influenced by one of the best teachers that I have ever had. His name is Mr. Abdul Halim Zaim. I want to pay a tribute to him if he is watching us. Well, he was like such a passionate teacher who loves what he's doing. We used to participate in extracurricular activities, and we used to participate in contests. So that love for the job of teaching becomes from then. And then again in high school, when I was in Kampur, I was chosen by one of my teachers to take part in Access program. You may know it, Access program, in which it's a micro scholarship, and we studied English like for 2 years on Sunday and Saturday, and we used to do a lot of activities. So it was so much fun that I always wanted to be like them and to do such activities. So I have chosen being a teacher for these reasons.
Yes, I agree. Co-curricular activities are something that make us all love what we do. Shayma, do you want to take this question?
Yes, of course. So I'll start by my childhood. Well, right from my childhood, I always wanted to become an English language teacher. Teaching is not just a profession for me. I saw it like a passion, and you know, when passion and profession come together, they make a really strong combination. And my colleagues, of course, I was really inspired by one of my teachers in the Common Core classes when I was studying at the military high school in Ifran. His name is Salah Uhasni. I pay him tribute from here if he's watching us right now. He's such an inspiring and perfect teacher. For me, the love of being an English language teacher started right from like it developed throughout the years, and of course he was one of the reasons that pushes me to continue on this great journey.
Yes, I agree. Sometimes teachers can make our lives change
Great
forever.
impact, yes.
Yeah. My second question here is, now that you're functionary, were your expectations met? What did you find interesting or maybe challenging about teaching?
Well, actually, what is interesting about teaching, I find that teaching is fun. I mean, if you're a teacher and do not agree with this statement, then perhaps it is time for you to find another job. Because I would agree that there are days when fun is not a word I use, like I would use to describe my profession. There are times when teaching is frustrating, disappointing, and disheartening. However, generally speaking, it is fun, and for many reasons, such as I would like to say, for example, teaching is fun because no 2 days are the same. Like you are a teacher and you meet you meet a lot of kind and a lot of types of students in your day. Each day brings a different challenge for you and a different outcome, of course, because each student provides a different challenge. This keeps you on your toes with no chance of being bored, of course. And what works for one student or one class may not, may or may not work for the other. So you find yourself in a continuous creativity, and you find yourself like you have to bring something new for them. It is also fun because you get to see students who fall in love with learning. It does not happen with every student, but for the ones, of course, who do it, it is special for them. And of course, the sky is the limit for the students who are genuinely love to learn and especially love English. Because teaching English is not like, I would say, teaching any other subject. You know, it's a foreign language, and some even lose interest into learning and into learning it, or into I would say into making more efforts about this language. And also it is fun for me because it gives the opportunity to have a positive impact on young people on a daily basis. Every day presents an opportunity to make a difference. You never know when, something you do or say will make an impact for a student of yours. And last but not least, it opens up other opportunities to be involved in your community. Teachers are some of the most recognizable faces in the community. So being involved in, community organizations and projects is really, like, I find it rewarding. So yeah, this is what I find interesting about teaching in general.
Thank you, Shayma. You're right. When you think about the learning as a great experience, and when you think about students as different learners with different needs, then here you have to adapt to too many things, and you just need to persevere through it and do what you love. Hamza or Umayma, what do you think?
Okay, so as Shayma have said, for me, teaching is fun because you are dealing with students, you are dealing with humans. So it's like you are shaping their minds. They come to your class like hopeless, they lack motivation, and you are changing them. So it's really a very noble job that encompasses not only teaching, but also you are a psychologist. You're not just a teacher, you're a psychologist. You have to motivate them. So that's for me what makes teaching really fun. And to tell you the truth, if you don't love this job, you will not continue. So you have to have that passion for this job. You have to love what you do, because we should not only build the future for our students, but we are building students for the future. So that's for me what makes teaching a really noble job, despite all the conditions and the problems that underlies the process.
Very wise words, Hamza. I couldn't agree more. Umayma, what do you think?
Yes, I totally agree with my colleagues. Actually, my expectations were not all met, to be honest, but you know, it's Morocco. There are lots of challenges, but with it, it's enjoyable. Actually, I like teaching, especially this is my first year teaching ever. I've never taught, and I'm still experimenting new techniques with my students and so on, but I'm happy that I build a relationship with my students, that they can come to me and talk to me about their problems if they need something. I am the bridge between me and the administration. If they need something, they can talk to me. And also I would like to add that being a teacher is not only about lessons, grammar, and so on. It's it's about being an educator and also a leader. I feel very happy when I give them I give them something to do or a project to prepare, and they come up with amazing and creative projects. It makes me feel happy. And as I said, there are lots of challenges, disruptive behavior, and so on. But like having these results with your students makes you forget about all the challenges you face. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Umayma. I couldn't agree more, guys. This is amazing. Now let's move on to a question that a lot of would-be teachers are asking. I mean, I myself am asking this question. When you wanted to prepare for your written exam, what were your preparation rituals? Because we know that we all have rituals to prepare for things. Can you share with us some of your tips, maybe some of the resources that you used? Did you use online resources, books? And finally, just some general tips that you would like to share. Shayma?
Well, I'm going to talk about the written exam a little bit. So since we took the exam, we had no science of education. So we took the exam just within didactics. I revised it, among the many aspects, of course, that I had to revise. I revised just a language, grammar, and of course didactics, everything that has a relationship with classroom management. I don't know, like how would you react in your class if some I don't know, misbehavior happens or occurs. There are also you should, I mean, the exam is really a handful. I mean, there isn't really like a big I would say just don't get like frustrated from not from the I don't know, the answers or whatever other people might tell you about the exam. It is really handy, and of course you should work smart, not hard. Like, yes, you would probably work hard, but I advise you to work smart, like focus on what's important, and that's it. Be clear and efficient in your answers. Like whenever you're writing, for example, be concise, enter the points, and pay attention to punctuations, you know, grammar and style. Of course, style is very important when you are writing a piece of an essay or something. Also, try to include some varied and advanced vocabulary. You know, you are, inshallah, you are going to be teachers, so try to show that you are you master certain vocabulary. So, however, try not to take things too seriously. Like, the exam is very handy and within reach.
Yes, thank you, Umayma, Shayma, sorry. Originality and authenticity are a key factor in when it comes to writing, as you said. What about you, Umayma? What do you think?
Yes, personally, I prepared for the exam within 1 month because of the situation of COVID and so on. I've just got my bachelor degree and I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for the teaching exam. And it was a little bit difficult because I didn't have enough time to check books, a lot of books and so on. So I actually limited my revision to check the summaries, to be honest. So I just checked a lot of summaries and many posts on Facebook that has a lot of summaries, and I try to check the validity of that information in many references. Then I started making summaries myself to understand better. And I also followed Mr. Hossein Qasra's channel within preparing for the TEFL and so on. So I revised like that, and it was actually, as Shayma said, it was handy. It was not very difficult, it was like time limited. So in this point, I would like to say that if you are like passing the exam, I would like to advise you to train yourself to not keep drafting a lot because it would take a lot of time, and it might not be enough for you to complete all the questions. So this is my advice, and also you should work on previous exams. So this is obvious. That's it. I think Shayma said it's all.
Yeah, and I'm noticing so much love from your students in the comment section.
Yeah.
Usama, Ayub
Yes.
and Usama are just very happy with you. It
Yeah,
means-
shout out to Ayub and Usama. I see you.
Yeah, good job, Umayma.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, and in relation to a question that was asked here before is, what makes you a good teacher? This is what makes you a good teacher, is just to be lovable, is just to be approachable, be someone whom your students can come to you and tell you anything and everything without feeling that they will be judged or prejudiced against or anything. Yeah, so Hamza, it's your turn, buddy. What do you think?
Well, concerning my preparation, in fact, for me, I took the exam twice. The first time was in 2019, right after I got my BA. I passed the written exam, but I did not make it in the oral one. So I did not give up. I want to tell the audience, don't give up. Keep working. And then I tried to improve myself. I worked on my weaknesses, and then I made it in the last year. Concerning the way I prepared, the first thing that I did was having a look at the exam specification so that you know which points that you have to tackle. So you have to be organized. Don't just jump over everything because you will get lost. So try to be organized, like have a list of the things that you have to cover, and then set a time limit for yourself to be well organized. And concerning the resources that I have depended on, I have here a list of resources. I can read them to you if you want. Shall I read them?
Yes, of course, feel free.
Okay, so the first thing that I think is a must for every exam taker to consider is reading the official English guidelines in Morocco, the Moroccan official guidelines for both high school and middle school, because there are plenty of information about the philosophy of teaching English in Morocco. The second thing is, or the second book is The Practice of Language Teaching. This one is, of course, well known by every exam taker, by Jeremy Harmer. And then Language Assessments by Douglas Brown, Principles and Classroom Practices. Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages by David Noonan. It talks about the methods of teaching grammar and language aspects in general. And then Techniques and Principles in Language Teaching by Freeman and Anderson. And then the last thing, an outline of second language acquisition theories. It talks in general, it summarizes the theories that we have in language teaching. And of course, you should not forget grammar, because we are language teachers. We should be good enough in grammar before teaching it. And then that's it. These are all the things that I depended on. I just want to focus on time management on the day of the exam, because many candidates had this problem. They did not manage to finish the writing section. They kept the drafting, they forget themselves, and then they did not finish the exam. So try to train yourselves on previous exams. So sit in an exam-like context with time limits, so that you can train yourself on time management on the day of the exam.
Thank you, Hamza. Such huge names you mentioned there. And you're right, budget and time is all that matters. And if you budget your time well, then your exam is, I suppose, will be easy. I mean, thank you so much, Hamza, for your advice. Now we're going to move on to the second question, which is related to the oral exam. We want the story of your interview. What was the allotted time for each candidate, and how long did your interview take? Anyone to jump in and answer? Feel free.
Yeah, I can go.
Okay, Shima.
So I'm going to tell you the story of that day. My oral exam took about 30 minutes. And I'd like to tell you one thing, please, just don't forget your ID. I did. And it was really like, I panicked when I found out that I don't have my ID with me. And so please just try to be like, to bring everything you would need, even bring something to eat with you, because sometimes they tell you you have to come at 8 or 9, but you take or you sit for the oral exam until 12. Please reserve your energy. And of course, the oral exam, it wasn't stressful as I expected it to be, actually. And well, I'm gonna start by the first thing. When I entered the room, there were like 3 judges over there. 2 of them were really cheerful and looking warmly as they asked me questions, but the other one was not friendly at all. The first question was, why did you choose to become a teacher of English? And of course, I answered with everything I had in mind about this, that I love this profession since childhood, that I see myself fit, and I see myself able to, to excel in it. Second question, it was about how would you use the 5 C's in your lesson? And they chose communication, culture, and communities, yes. Well, in this question, I was asked to stand and act as if I am the teacher and they are the students. I opted to introduce the unit of Women in Power from the textbook Gateway to Second Back students. And I started by sharing shaking their schemata first, asking them about the changes and how women shifted from being passive to active in their communities. And then I started to elicit information and write them on the board. I finally explained and gave an example of how women shifted from passive to active members in our community past the years. And right then, suddenly, one of the judges asked me to clarify a concept that I wrote in the board. So please just be aware of this. Whenever you do something, whenever you write something, or whenever you say something, be ready to explain it at any moment. So that concept wasn't really a complicated one. I can't really remember it, it's been a year now, but I explained the concept that they asked me about, and I recognize what I recognized is by this question is he was only focusing on the way or on my ability and my technique of explaining that particular concept. He wasn't interested in the answer itself, but he was interested on how I would give or get that idea through. I think the last there were too many questions. Well, this is last but not least, of course, I was asked one question in French and one in Arabic, if I remember. The French one says, qu'est-ce que vous avez fait quand vous avez réveillé ce matin? And it was like, what? I didn't really expect him to ask me such a question, but again, they were here they were just trying to know how fluent I can speak in French. And one in Arabic, of course, they asked me about من هم الأطراف المؤثرة في الحياة المدرسية للتلميذ. So here I clarified that both, or like we have three parts: school, family, and the society, which make like an influence on the life of the students as a whole. I think yes, this is like one difficult situation or question that I had during this interview is that when one of the judges asked me about how can I help my students to improve their speaking skills and make them like make it fun for them. When I answered, she replied back, "Let's just be honest." And she said, like, in a serious face, "Let's just be honest, students hate speaking. How can you make them?" Here I felt like I wasn't really I wasn't convincing in my answer. So I told her it is all about the trust and confidence a teacher instills in her teachers or in her students, or sorry, his or her students. In order for students to speak like confidently in the class, they have to feel safe and protected from judgments. And of course, here comes our roles as teachers, because now as I'm teaching, I find like so many, like many of my students have the answer and they are hesitating. So I try my best to make them feel safe and to encourage them and to push them to talk and to speak in the class, because, you know, speaking just in the class is not really enough. Like they have to make efforts outside the classroom, but at least we as teachers have to be by the side of our students as a whole. Yeah, this was like an overall about my like oral experience or exam experience.
Yeah, it was such an interesting story, Shaima. I keep mixing your names. I don't know why, but such interesting story indeed. And you just confirmed it. I heard somewhere that interviewers use provocative questions sort of to intimidate the interviewees, just to tease you a little bit and see if you can think up your toes. And that's it was such an amazing story, Shaima. This time I won't forget your name. So let's hear from our other guest speakers. And also a question here by Mustafa. He said that is the questions and the way you answer, do they focus, I mean, the interviewers, do they focus on your personality, or do they focus more on your knowledge and the things that you have cognitively? So if you want, you might want to answer that, Hamza and Umayma, in addition to my original question. So feel free to jump in, Hamza.
Yes, so to answer this question, I would say that they focus on your personality. They want to know to what extent you can defend your ideas. So you have to be to believe in what you are saying. You have to be sure of what you have saying, otherwise don't say it. So because they might ask you any random questions while you are speaking. So whatever idea you have, you should be sure and certain of it. This is just to answer this question. And if you want me to talk about my experience, I can talk about it now.
Yes, that was my original question, Hamza. Feel free to answer this question. Please do. Go ahead, Hamza.
Okay, so for me, I took the oral exam in 2020, last year. I took it, in fact, twice. The first time I did not make it in 2019, and then in 2020, I managed to do it. The first thing that I want to stress on is prepare a good introduction, self-introduction. Because for me, once I introduced myself, I mentioned the Access program that I took part in. So basically, all the questions were related to it. So what I want to say is try to mention the things that you feel that you can convince them about. For example, if you have a good research paper that you master and it is related to teaching English, you can mention it. If you are studying a master's related to ALT, you can mention it. So the most things that you are confident at, try to mention them in the self-introduction. So as I said, I mentioned access program. So they asked me questions like, how can you extend your experience at access program into your teaching practices? And another question, like, did you like the books you used there, the textbooks, or the ones that are used in public schools? So I had to defend my point of view. Of course, I said that the ones we used in Access program were quite good because there are pictures, there are like a variety of materials. And the most important thing is that they are updated. And they themselves, the jury told me that our textbooks, Moroccan textbooks, are outdated. So are you going to depend solely on them? Of course, you have to adapt. So my answer was that we have to adapt because, you know, we have different students, we have different learning styles, and the textbooks that we currently have are not, can't serve, I mean, all the learning styles. Another question, I have written down my questions that they asked me once I got out from the room where I took the exam. I just got home and then I wrote the questions that they asked me. So the first question, as I said, was introduce yourself. So as I said, try to prepare a good self-introduction in which you mention the things that you are good at. The second question was, what did you learn from it, from Access program? What did you learn from it? And then, as I said, which textbooks do you prefer, those in Access or those in public schools? And then how can you extend what you learned to the learning field? And then don't you think that the textbooks are outdated, as I've just said? And the last question, or the last two questions, what are some activities that are used in listening? So you have to be aware of how to teach the different skills, reading, speaking, and listening and writing. You have to know the stages, the sub skills of each one. They asked me about the sub skills of teaching listening. So like there is listening for gist, listening for details, etc. And then they asked me two questions in Arabic. One is, what are the types of assessment in Arabic? So like we have Tquin Tkhasi, Tquini, and Ijmali. These are the questions that they asked me. And the last question was, should we penalize students for not doing homework? And that was the most challenging question for me, because they kept trying to tease me and try to say that, well, we should not penalize them. Well, we should. Well, in other countries, like, for example, like Finland, they don't work with homework at all. So I try to convince them and to say that I'm not going to penalize students, but I will talk to them first in private and see why they don't do their homework. And then I should try to motivate them by, for example, giving pluses. I'm currently doing this with my students. When I gave them a homework, in the next session, I check the homework, and then those who do it, I give them a plus in the participation. And next time, like everyone does the homework. So I think these were the questions that I can recall.
All right, thank you, Hamza, for sharing. That was very informative. Umayma,
Yes.
what was your experience like?
So the oral exam was in the afternoon, and I was very sick that day. I was stressed, and it was just a mess. So when they called my name, the inspector called my name, I went upstairs and I entered the room, and the first thing I say is good morning instead of good afternoon. And I was like, oh, I messed up from the first minutes. And he was laughing. What did you say? I wanted to say good afternoon. I'm sorry. Okay. I sat down. I gave them my ID, and they asked me to introduce myself. I started introducing myself, my name, and when I said my age, because I was 20, they were surprised. They were very surprised, and it kind of made an impression, and they started like asking me and laughing with me to relieve my stress. So it actually helps. And then they asked me to choose from some papers. There were some papers with the questions. They were all folded and they had to choose one. So I just chose one. I opened it and they found 8 questions, and those are the questions that I'm going to answer. And before that, they asked me if I had any experience in teaching. I said no, and it's not a problem if you don't have any experience teaching English or anything. I just said no, I don't have any experience. They said, have you looked for jobs in teaching and so on? I said yes, I wanted to teach in remedial classes, but I couldn't find any chance and so on. So they were like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And then I opened the paper and I found some questions. I still remember them, so I wrote them here. The first question was, what are the components you are going to teach when you become a teacher? The second one was, how can we teach grammar? So it was inductively, and they started asking me what is the inductive approach and so on. And they asked me to give them an example, because when I said that I should give them a situation, then extract the rule from that, they started asking a lot of questions. So as my colleagues mentioned, everything you say, you're going to have a question about that. So you have to be very careful while answering. You should not say something that you don't know, or just to look fancy and say some word, some difficult word that you don't know the answer to, because they're going to ask you about that exact word. So I tried to avoid that. The next question was, what are the 4 skills? What are the types of tests? Here I talked about the different type of tests. They asked me also about what is the diagnostic test, and how can you make the classroom a positive environment by activities and so on. And in this question, they asked me, what if the students don't like English at all? If you have a student who comes to you and says, I don't like English at all, I hate English, what would you say? And my answer was, I'm going to tell the student that you don't have any choice. It is a subject that you have to study. But from my part, I would try to implement some activities and games to make him or her love the subject. So they started asking me every single thing I say. They ask a lot of questions. So they were not only 8 questions that are on the paper, there were a lot of other questions. And also they ask about what is the difference between deductive and inductive approaches. And the last question was about what is a record book. And here comes the difficult situation, and it's a funny one for me actually. When I started answering what is a record book, so basically there are 3 of the jury. Yes, there were the inspector, who is now my inspector actually, and there is a second person who is a teacher. Her name is Fuzia. She's now my friend. I was lucky to meet her again. And there was the third person who I don't know who he is, but the question, I started answering what is a record book, and while I was doing that, Miss Fuzia and the inspector started chatting together, and I thought that they were just talking about something I said and they wanted to ask me about something. So I just ignored that at the beginning, and they kept chatting. I kept the focus with the third party because I didn't want to stop answering, so I kept answering. But then while I'm answering, they didn't stop talking. So I was thinking, is this a test? Are they testing me? And I was like, what if I say silence and they tell me goodbye, because they were not testing me, they were just talking. And they said, whatever, I'm going to say it. So I hit the table and I look at them and they say, silence, please. And they were like, oh my God, you quickly changed your facial expressions. Look at her. And they were kind of laughing because I am 20. So from the beginning, For them, I'm just like a young lady passing the exam and so on. So they were testing me. And I said, silence, please. And the inspector looked at me and said, who are we? And I said, you are students. And I was very afraid that it was not a test or something. You never know. And they were like, yes, okay, you're very courageous, you're very like confident and so on. So I continued answering the first question about the record book, and I finished that. They gave me the first question I answered about what are the components that you're going to teach, and they told me to translate it to Arabic first and then to French. And I haven't spoken French for a long time, but it worked. Luckily, I got it right. And so they kept testing me. They gave me some a situation like a dialogue about opinion functions, and they asked me which component of language is this. So I said functions. Which lesson? I said opinion. That went well. Then they gave me another one about I think clarification or something like this. So I answered that, and they gave me three words that I have never seen and I don't remember right now. And they told me to pronounce those words, and it was difficult because I'm not familiar with those words. And they said, the first thing I said, I've never seen these words, but I'm going to try. I pronounced the first one, the second one, the third one. I didn't want to risk it, so I said, I don't know. I want to pronounce the third one. So they said, okay, very good. And the inspector said, I wish to see you in the future. Then I knew that I did well, kind of. So I went out kind of happy because I got a feedback at the end. So this was my experience, and I would never forget it because it was funny for me because I shouted at the inspector saying silence, and he is now my inspector. So luckily he doesn't remember me.
Well, you were very brave, Umima, I'd say.
Yeah.
And it's good to be brave sometimes. It's good to
Yes, of course.
face your fears. So now let me ask you a question. Were there any tricky questions? And if yes, how did you manage those questions? And I have a question here from the audience. Someone asked if you could tell them to repeat the question for you if you didn't understand it. Was that possible?
Yes, it was. I did that. I asked one of the juries to repeat the question because like I was really overwhelmed and I was kind of nervous at the very beginning, and he did it like he repeated the question like normal.
Yeah. Okay. Now let me ask you a question. I know that your interview, Shaymat, was 30 minutes. How about our other guest speakers? How long did your interviews take?
Mine was 20 minutes.
20?
Yes.
Yeah. Hamza?
It was like 30, 35 minutes, something like this.
Yeah, so it takes time. And did you teach any demo lessons or mini lessons?
For me, last year, no, but I did this in the previous attempt. In 2019, they asked me to present a lesson. But last year, no, they did not ask me to do so. But they asked me to write like a sentence. They spelled the sentence on the board. It was in the present perfect, but there is a mistake in this sentence. And they tried to see if I knew what is the mistake and where is it and which lesson is it.
Okay, here I have a question, just some final tips of how to make it in the oral exams, how to excel at it. And on a personal level, I mean, your self-confidence, how did you work on that, and your appearance, any tips?
Okay, so for me, the advice or the pieces of advice that I can give is, first of all, try not to get too early to the teaching center, not the exam center, not too early and not too late. So waste your time. Okay, and the second thing, take your ID card, don't forget it. And maybe this year they may ask you about the motivational letter, because I've heard that they will ask about it. And of course, clothes, you should wear decent clothes because you are like a teacher. So you should wear respectful clothes. And don't panic, because there is anxiety. It's at the beginning, it's something normal, but you should not let it take control over you. You should control it. Don't let it go with you until the end of the interview, because you may panic and then forget everything you've learned. So don't panic. And
totally agree.
Be my pieces of advice.
Yeah, totally
Yes,
agree.
and I'd like to add something, please, about the oral exam. Like today, you should be psychologically prepared, which means sleep well, eat well, and try like dress professionally, as my colleague Hamza said, and try to come early and reserve your energy, because you will go like as if you're going to take the exam first, but at the end you have to stay the whole evening, afternoon, sorry, or morning waiting. So just reserve your energy and do not forget your ID. Try not to be too serious, of course. At the same time, stay focused and smile slightly. Like, don't try to be like too serious. Just try to smile from time to time, and above all, have faith in yourself, and it's going to be all right, inshallah.
Yeah, it helps to have some sense of humor at dealing with any situation. Uema, did you want to add something, or shall we move to the...
My pieces of advice are like to be courageous, as for my situation. If I was not courageous enough to take that step and like act out and say silence, it would have been like a minus for me, because they were testing me if I'm going to take action in needed situations. So I would advise you to be courageous, to take action when needed, so because it might be a test. And also you have to personalize your answers. For example, let's take just the basic question, why do you want to be a teacher? A lot of people tend to just give that like ordinary answer, which is I've been dreaming of being a teacher since my childhood. It's true, some people, it is the truth, but some people just find it easy to say that it was their dream, and the jury find it monotonous to have just one answer. I've been dreaming since my childhood, again and again. So try to personalize and try to find the real reason. Why do you want to be a teacher? What is your motivation to be a teacher? Because it's going to impress them, to give them something that is personalized from your point of view, not something they find it as in a normal answer. And also you have to be ready to present a lesson. It's true that some of us were not asked to present a lesson or perform anything, but there is a possibility that they would ask you to present something from their choice, and you have to be ready. And another thing, for the oral exam, I would advise you not to keep asking every candidate who gets out of the room, what did they ask you? Because they wouldn't tell you the truth, actually. And there is no need, because you are competing for the seats and for positions, and nobody would give you that position. So they're going to mislead you, and you're going to increase from your stress. So just focus on yourself. You're already, if you have revised something you've already done, you're just going to go there and answer the questions, and that is not a big deal. So these are my pieces of advice.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. These were...
Add something?
Of course. The floor is yours.
On the day of the exam, try to be an active listener. So listen very well before you answer. like understand and interpret their question before you answer. If you don't know something, just say I don't know. Don't put yourself in a situation that you will be like embarrassed or stuck. And another thing, while you are talking to them, you should treat them like students. So you should like your eye contact should address all of them, not just focus on one person, the person who asked the question. No, you should focus your eye contact on all of them. And if you were asked to write something on the board, don't give them your full back. Okay, so you have to be like in a half writing and at the same time looking at them, because you know in the classroom you may start writing and then some students misbehave. So these are the things that I would like to add.
Thank you, Hamza. Those were truly edifying pieces of advice. So we can all agree that presentation skills, self-confidence, and just bravery and authenticity are key when it comes to the oral exam. Right, so now let's move on to the third part of today's webinar, is to talk about the CRMEF, to talk about the teacher training center itself. How long did the program take, first of all, and was the attendance mandatory?
Yes, of course it was mandatory. The program lasted for 8 months, starting from December and to June or July, yes. And since it was the lockdown period, it was you know, Corona time, coronavirus and stuff. So we had to take the training online. But this does not mean that it was less than we expected. It was such a success for all of us. We took the training online, and we had in the first semester, we had as modules language awareness, science of education, classroom management, lesson plan, ICT, school life, didactics, and action research. Those are the modules we studied in the first semester. And of course, in the second one, we had the language awareness 3 and 4, school life, classroom management 2, and analysis of teacher performance, assessments, and didactic production. Yes, this was like the modules we had in the training.
Yeah, good. They sound very interesting.
They are.
Yeah. And was your timetable flexible? Like, did you have time for other activities?
Yes.
Yes, it was kinda.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Because especially in the first semester, we had a lot of modules. We had 8 modules. So the first semester was difficult. And with all the assignments of each module, it was a little bit challenging, not to lie. And actually, so we passed 8 months of training, plus we have the practicum. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to practice teaching. We had only 2 weeks, but at least we had a chance to encounter the classroom and like to teach. Some of us had the chance to teach some lessons because it was at the end of May. So yes, it was a great experience, but unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of chances to meet each other. It would have been better if we were actually attending classes face to face.
Yeah, I agree. It would have been great, actually, because we only took the exams physically.
Yes.
We had exams physically, so.
Yeah, but still, I suppose that this will be a plus to your experience, that you took something virtually and you would have learned a lot. I mean, you should have learned a lot about it, from it. So now moving on to the next question I have here is, how were the trainers? What do you like? What did you like about them? Were they engaging? Were they nice? Tell us.
Of course, of our trainers. They were amazing. They were assisting us throughout the whole training period. Mentioning Mr. Professor Qaseras, Professor Slimani. They were like great tutors for each one of us. They were really comprehensive about our questions. They were really assisting us throughout this period. They were giving us like tips and advices that nobody would give, like nobody would tell us about teaching, and about especially teaching in the public sector. You know, it's a big challenge for all of us, since we're still young, and we have you know, we're going to teach high schoolers, and it's so they were really beneficial, and they assisted us throughout every single obstacle we faced. I'm really grateful for everything they did.
Yes, that's very good. Now let's hear from our other guest speakers. What about you, Hamza?
Well, for me, the experience at the CRMEF was a bit difficult. It was full of ups and downs because, you know, I'm from Beni Mellal, and we took the training in the CRMEF of Rabat. So in the beginning, we went there, and then they told us that the training is going to take place face to face. So we had to rent and stuff. And then again, they told us that the administration took the decision that the training will take place just online. So we went back again home. But for me personally, I liked the online sessions because they made it easier for us, because we are from a different region. So you don't have to rent again, and you don't have to prepare what to eat when you are yourself, because you are still with your family and you are learning at the same time. You are getting equipped with the tools and weapons that you are going to use in your teaching. And concerning the professors, they were really amazing, especially Mr. Professor Qaseras and Professor Slimani, to whom I want to pay my tribute. He really helped us learn a lot, and he was like a father to us. Whenever you have a problem, you just go and call Mr. Slimani or text him, and he will give you with valuable pieces of advice and stuff. Yes, that's it. That was my experience.
Nice. Now, before I move to Umayma, I have a question for you, Hamza. Did you choose to continue CRMEF Rabat, or were you assigned that center?
In fact, people who are from the region of Beni Mellal Khnefra, we were divided into two groups. A group took the training in Meknes, and we seven, I guess, I don't remember the number, but like 9 or 7 trainees, we took it just from Azilal. We took it from in Rabat. It's like people who are from Fqeh Ben Salih, Beni Mellal, and 7 from Azilal took it in Rabat, and then the rest who are close to Meknes took it in Meknes, like people who are from Khnefra, because Khnefra is a bit near to Meknes, so they took it there. We were assigned. We did not have the chance to choose which center to take the training in.
Okay, thank you for answering that, Hamza. Now moving on to Umayma. Tell us a little bit about your experience at this center.
Yes, generally speaking, as my colleague said, the training was good. The professors also, and especially Mr. Hussein Qaseras and Mr. Slimani, everybody is going to agree on that. These two teachers or professors, I would say, they helped us a lot, especially when you have a problem or you need something or you didn't understand something. You can just message them or give them a call and they would be there for you. So they helped us a lot, especially because, as I said, the program was a little bit like, I wouldn't say overloaded, but there are lots of modules. Okay, so they helped us a lot, and they tried to make the experience very good for us. Yes, so what is the other question? So the professors were good. What I forgot.
Okay, that was my question actually. And let me add something that Mr. Hussein Qaseras isn't only doing a great job face to face, but also online. So don't forget to check his page, where he has a lot of good materials for you. Those were all the questions that we have for you today. But before I close, I want to hear from Mr. Hussein Pasabas. Do you have any pieces of advice for our prospective teachers out there?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Tariq. I'm very, glad to be with our young teachers. Last year, they were, TEFLers graduates. They really worked hard during the whole year, during the COVID-19, and they could make it. Now they are the future, you are the teachers. It's really very interesting to choose this profession. Being a teacher, and I all the time tell my students and future teachers that teaching is challenging but rewarding at the same time. So if you would like, or if you are asking for money, I would say don't go for teaching, because teaching is the only profession that will help you to help the community, and you will get rewards after that. So for those who have just taken the written exam, we have brought very interesting figures. Teacher Shayma Hamino, Mr. Hamza Alushwani, and Teacher Umayma Ajiji. Those are models for all of you if you would like to take the OR exam and you would like to pass it successfully. My piece of advice for those who are sitting for the OR exam, inshallah, once you will see the results, don't forget the 3 P's. Number 1, preparation. Number 2, preparation. And number 3, preparation. You have to prepare very well and be yourself. I really liked the way Mr. Hamza, Ms. Umayma, and Shayma talked. Be yourself. The way you dress must be professional. The way you talk must be professional. You are not perfect. As Umayma said, they may ask you some difficult questions. It's okay to say, I'm sorry, I don't know. Or you can ask politely, can you please help me? So what do you mean by this? So don't get embarrassed and stuck. That means that you are not a qualified teacher for our future learners. So please, Teacher Hamza said something also very interesting. Prepare very well the introduction. The introduction is the most important, start. The first question they may ask you is, can you talk a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself, present yourself. So you have to prepare very well for that. For example, when you introduce yourself, you will talk later about your hobbies. I guess it's not a good, way to say, I love swimming, because what's the connection between swimming and teaching? So it would be better to say, I love reading books. I like to help the community. I like volunteering. And here, the interviewer may ask you, oh, good. So have you ever done voluntary work? They're going to say, yes, I have taught some poor students for free. I have done this and this. So here you attract the attention of the interviewer again. You can say, I like reading. Then what is the recent book you have read? And you prepare already. Yeah, the book, don't tell them a love book or a swimming book or a fishing book. No, try to think about something that matches teaching. For example, I read a book about how to teach speaking, and you already prepared about speaking, okay? So once you talk about this, they will say, oh, he's a very good candidate. This is a very interesting teacher because he's doing something that is related to, to teaching. So whenever you introduce yourself, ask yourself a question. Does these things I'm talking about match my profession, teaching or not? So please try to avoid anything that has no relationship with teaching. Introduce yourself, talk about your experience, talk about the books you have read recently, talk about your hobbies, and all these things again must be relevant to the profession of teaching. As Teacher Shayma said, yes, during the day of the OR exam, you may wait more than 5 hours. You may be at 7 a.m., but your turn might be at 5 p.m. So bring with you some drinks, some food, have enough sleep, prepare yourself, I mean, physically and mentally, dress well, try to have a nice haircut, professional one. Don't do like footballers or something, because you are not a footballer, you are a teacher. Zero, etc. No, from the very beginning, you are going to eliminate yourself, okay? Because we would like you to be a good figure for our future teachers and learners. And of course, I'm sure that you will make it all, because you are following this webinar, and this webinar is about interviews. And I can tell you again that the 3 teachers, Shaima, Hamza, and Umayma, really, I swear, they gave you very valuable piece of advice. You may pay money to get these, piece of advice, but we have to clap, big clap to all of them for their generosity. They were very generous to share with you their very inspiring stories about the OR exam. And of course, be yourself, proud of yourself, prepare very well, dress very well, have enough sleep, try to have an idea about teaching, try to share your experience that you have already taught before, and of course, you will make it, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Al-Hussein, for your continuous support and solicitousness. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, dear audience. A big thank you to our guest speakers. You were spectacular. Thank you, dear audience, for attending this live Q&A session about how to prepare for the CRMEF written and oral exam. We would love to see you again, same virtual platform, same time. Stay tuned, and good night, everyone.